This is going to be our first session of our online PD course, and hopefully this goes well, then we will continue to offer different ones throughout the year that we'll be able to do this way. We've got Tuesdays and Thursdays, and so the schedule is going to follow. It's on the Google Classroom, which I invited everyone to. It's going to, on Tuesdays, primarily it's going to be our demonstration day. So it's when I'll go through the actual tool for that week, and we'll go through the features and talk about it a little bit and show the different ideas and things that you can do with it. And then Thursday would be the day that we come together and just kind of go into breakout rooms, and it's your time to actually like play around with it and be able to test out all the different ideas and develop lessons already and start to collaborate or talk to people about it. And so that's just going to be a full hour of just being hands-on working with the tool that we discussed on Tuesday. So that's kind of the way that I've broken down the course in that way. So today we're going to be starting with slides, and then Thursday, then when we come together, you'll have a chance to then work on some of the things that we'll talk about today and kind of just develop some lessons that you might be able to implement in your classes right away. Next week, we'll go into Nearpod. There's a lot of different new activities and features in Nearpod, so we'll be taking a look at those, and then the rest of the schedule follows along that way for the 8-week course. The final follow-up activity is really from one of these 8 things that we talk about, is just for you to actually develop a lesson and implement it in your class. It could be on any one of the tools that we talk about throughout this course. So as long as you develop that lesson, you implement it in class, and then you'll submit that into Google Classroom, that'll be your final follow-up activity, along with the evaluation that you have to do on My Learning Plan, as always, just to make sure you always turn in that evaluation that you have to turn in, the course evaluation. So with those 2 things, that'll be the final follow-up for the course to be able to get your points.
My only concern was if we can get it done fast enough. That's my own, I don't know if that's my question, that's just my only concern. But all we can do is what we can do. Listen, go from there.
Go, do you need to mute yourself?
Oh, Ms. Campbell, can you mute yourself, please? So any questions before we get started? So that's basically the breakdown of the course. That kind of makes sense to everybody? Awesome. So before we start, I am just going to take a quick little poll on to see how everybody feels about slides. And pretty much just gauging your comfort level with slides, whether you're a complete beginner or have moved past that.
Make sure you mute yourself because I keep hearing feedback.
Can you show us what you see in terms of this poll, what it looks like? Because I've never seen a poll.
I can't share that with you. I can take a snippet of it and.
And how did you do that poll?
You can set it up in Zoom. I have one ready to go for my Spanish classes.
When you set up your schedule of your meeting, at the very bottom, you can add polls to it. All right, so we're pretty much kind of in the middle. Most people are comfortable with slides, but not really past the basics of the presentation tools that it has. Let me just really quickly. So this is what the poll looks like. Can you see the snippet from it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what you'll see on your screen when you launch a poll. You'll be able to see everybody's. I did it anonymously, so it doesn't give me who it is, who did what. I was just looking to see what the majority of the answers were. And you can add as many poll questions as you want to your meeting, and you can launch them whenever you want. So it's pretty easy. Okay, so I'm just going to dive right into kind of going into different things that you can do with Google Slides beyond just presentations. One of them is digital interactive notebooks. In these digital, excuse me, with these digital interactive notebooks, you can have links to outside resources that will have background knowledge already for students. So it kind of helps them with some research where they can start reading. Students can answer comprehension questions. They can have hands-on activities. These presentations I have in the Google Classroom, and so they're all like hyperlinked to different examples. So this is what a digital interactive notebook would look like, and it's pretty much like the regular interactive notebooks. Like if you actually had the physical interactive notebooks where you used to have little like fold outs and things that students would work on, they were like no manipulatives. So it's the same kind of concept. It's just that this one is digital. So here you have the directions, and within the directions I have hyperlinked like outside resources, and it can be whether it's websites or articles or videos that the students then will like read and watch and gather information about, and then they'll go ahead and fill out the boxes according to whatever each one is. This other one I have here is kind of like a drag and drop. So this was on the Columbian Exchange. So they had to like drag and drop things to like what was from the new world and what was from the old world. And so they just had to take these and put them in the right spot. So you can create these kind of like hands-on activities that way that students can do. Ms. Glossary, do you have a question?
Is this your template, or is this template from a website, like from the slide?
This one is mine. So I just, yeah, this one I just created myself. So it's just about going into the slide. I just customized it to be like 8.5 by 11. So it's like a page. And then this is just like, I just put it together however I wanted.
Okay.
Put it in.
Thank you.
Can I ask a Zarini?
Yes, Ms. Cordero, you have a question?
If I want them to submit it, how would I be able to get a submitted piece? It would just be a new saved document of a completed assignment.
So if you want them to submit it, these are slides. So you would assign these slides into Google Classroom, and you would make a copy for each student and assign it that way. And that way the students complete it on the slide itself, and then they just turn it in through Google Classroom.
Thank you.
And then the other way about doing it that way too is that as students complete it, you can also see as they're working what they're doing. So when you do it through Classroom that way, I can be able to view what students are doing, and I can actually give them feedback while they're working on whatever the activity is. So that's basically what the digital interactive notebook would look like. And so you could do it for however you want to do it, whether you're doing it through chapter or just by lesson or topic, then you would be able to do it that way. Ms. Ketcherside, do you have a question?
Yeah, just, it was kind of a follow-up. Did you ever do it so that you evaluated them piecemeal rather than just one big, huge grade or evaluation?
Yeah, there's different ones. Sometimes I would have it for chapters, for long chapters at a time that I would divide into pieces. And so on those due dates that the first section would be due, then they would have a grade for that. And then, so I've done both, and whatever would work for you depending on how long and how much you want to break it up. I also would allow them, sometimes they could work in partners and work together. So if you wanted to do this collaboratively, they could do that. Ms. Pino?
Question about, I know you had said you would make a copy for each student.
Yeah.
So would you physically make a copy for every student and label it by student, or do you make it so it's a forced copy when they open it?
In Google Classroom, when you create an assignment, I would then just go ahead and add my interactive notebook onto my assignment.
Right.
Let this load. So it would be this one right here. I'd insert it. And then when I would insert it, I would then choose make a copy for each student.
I see. Okay.
And that's it. And it does it automatically. So when I assign that, each student would have their own copy. And then they just have to complete it and turn it in.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
No problem. The 8.5 by 11 format is just going into file and going into page setup, and it's pretty much just going ahead and just setting it up that way. And it'll apply to your slides. And that's how you can make them look that way. All right. Some additional ideas that you can do with slides. There can be digital timelines where each slide could be a specific event and time, and those can be assigned either individually or collaboratively, where a person is in charge of one event and they can create information about it, bring in pictures or something like that. Digital handbooks. This is an example of one that we did. This was a collaborative one that we did across the grade level. This was when we had, I believe it was when we were at a field trip. And so the 8th graders that were left behind actually completed this handbook. And so it was across the grade level. All of the subjects worked on this handbook together. And so the students all created, it was a group of like 4 students, and they were in charge of creating this kind of like digital handbook. In this case, it was about the Civil War. So they created this table of contents, and they did the research and added in the information. They added in videos. They added in boxes for students when they watched the videos to be able to answer questions. And these were all, they did little drag and drop activity for themselves for like a timeline that they had to put it in the right order. And so each group designed their own book, and then they were able to share it with one another. But these are things that you can make for anything. So students can make these types of handbooks or informational books about any topic. And so if they work together or on their own, it allows them to be able to research and gather information, and then they are putting it together. What do people really need to know? How do I organize it so it makes sense? So it does bring in a lot of critical thinking, a lot of skills for them to be able to put these books together, and then really having them share it out with their peers, or even if it's like another class that they share it out with, is then in addition to that, because then you get feedback from an authentic audience who's trying to use it, and they'll be able to receive that feedback about the book and what they found useful, and maybe things that would be, they can work on that would make it better. And so that's another way that you can use slides in that sense for students to be actively doing something. Ms. Price, do you have a question?
You answered it already. It was about the page setup.
Oh, okay. All right, perfect. Collaborative vocabulary sets, and these really could be any type of sets. It doesn't have to just be vocab, but this is something that can be done as well, where you have slides, and whether you're doing with vocab or other types of concepts, where the students can work together. Each slide then would be a vocabulary term or an important person. In my classes, it used to be when they had to define terms, they had to who, what, where, when, and why for the whole entire thing, and they had to provide an image. And so this is what they worked on together, and then they had these collaborative sets that they could then use and look back on and study from for later on for any type of assessments. But you know, these can be done for any type of concept or whatever it is, whatever vocabulary terms, or it can be like math facts, whatever it needs to be. But it can also be used for things like that. The collaborative is nice because when you have a lot of different terms, that way you can divide it up between the students, and you're able to work on it that way as well. Questions so far? Okay. So the drag and drop activities, this is just kind of going over a little bit about how to use drag and drop, and this could definitely be used for any grade level, whether you're talking about kindergarten up to 8th grade, the drag and drop activities can be used. The trick with the drag and drop activities, especially if you have like a background, is to use the background as your master slide. That way the students aren't able to move or edit or change anything in the background. And so they're only able to drag and drop what you want them to. And that's really just easily about going into, when you go into the view section of slides and you go into master, Whatever you put on this part on the master slide, however you lay this out, means that it won't be editable by anybody. That's part of the background, and so they can't change it. So if you have anything like that, like if you have this image, like this is like the image of the water cycle, I don't want them to be able to touch that image, then that becomes part of my background, it's part of the master slide, and so they can't edit this in any way. And you would just go ahead and edit the master like you would your regular slide presentation. It's just, it has that little black gray area. That way you know that you're working in the master. But whatever you do there then becomes part of that background. And so now I have like my instructions, and I have, these would be my labels. And so now the students can go ahead and just drag in the labels to wherever it needs to be. And that way they can create this, they can add a little bit of notes if they wanted to, explaining it further, and that's something that they could submit. So it's kind of like a real quick drag and drop activity that can be done for all types of different types of concepts. But really just the trick there is kind of using the master slide as your friend, so that they're not able to edit anything that you have on there that you don't want to. Because sometimes that happens. I know when people were using like hyperdocs and stuff, like the students would get rid of the shapes or things that you added for them when they were trying to edit on it. And so one way to do that is just to go ahead and put it all on the master slide, and that way it stays safe. Infinite cloning, it's not really infinite, but the trick there is if you have like drag and drop activities, but you want to be able to have more than one of that object available. So if they need to drag in a lot, so like if they're doing like a counting activity and you want them to bring in like 10 of something, you can create it so that you have multiple, whoops, back. Oh no, here we go. So that you can have multiple objects. Let me get out of here so I can go into this term. Of kids being able to drag it. So like I could have them bring in as many of things as I want to, and that's what they call the infinite cloning. So the way that you would do this is you would bring in whatever image it is that you want for the students to be able to drag, whether it's an image that you bring in or if it could just be a shape. But if you click on the shape and you click on Control D, you'll be able to create a whole bunch of copies of that image. And then you would just be able to select all of those images at once by just creating a box and selecting them all. Right now it's not going to let me because I'm on top of all of these things. Let me do this really quick.
Ms. Arini, while you're doing that, can I ask a quick question? I think when you were showing those drag and drops, those kinds of things can also be done. Like, let's say for Kinder, we can make those in Google Slides, but post them on Seesaw, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It can. Anything can be, yep. You can post them on Seesaw. You can post them into Classroom. Either way, it all works. So when I have all of these copies of it and I just go ahead and select them all, then I can right click and I would then go to center horizontally and then center vertically. Hold on, it's not letting me do my thing. Here we go. Align horizontally center and align horizontally, line vertically middle, so that it all comes on top of each other. So now it's there. When my students go to drag and drop it, then they're all there like on top of one another. And that's why they refer to it like as infinite cloning, because then you just have like a whole lot of copies of the same thing.
Melissa, can you do that one more time? Because I wasn't sure where you found the align.
You just have to right click on it. When you right click on it, it's going to go into you got to have the copies. Once you select them all and right click on it, then you'll see the align horizontally and the align vertically.
Cool.
So it's once you select them all, then you'll have that option in the drop-down menu.
You need to teach classes at that next conference that we go to, because the woman that taught this did not say to do it that way. She said, like, make hundreds of copies. And I was like, no.
So
that's way easier.
And so I do have in Google Classroom, I have the resources where it says the Google Slides resources. There's like a whole bunch of resources on there. One of them is a video on infinite cloning. So all of these things that I talk about are also in those resources for Google Slides that you'll have a chance to kind of look on that on your own time and look at all these things. They'll all have like videos on how to do these, so that if you forget from what we're talking about now, you can look back on that video to take a look at it. Something else with slides, linking slides, right? Linking slides is something that's like really easy to do, but it allows you to create a lot of different things. So for example, there's like create your own adventure stories. Sometimes people do it through forms, but you can also do it through Google Slides by just linking the slide. So you can have students, you can start them off, and it kind of starts like a little like Mad Lib game, and have them like complete a part of the story until it all comes together. So from here, I just have a text box that I just started the story, right? Once upon a time, there was a purple dragon that wanted nothing more in the world to become a famous dancer. So I then have a yes or a no of like, should she or should she not try out for the Village Talent Show? So when they click on yes, it's going to link them to another slide that has that part of the story then following if she did do that. And the way that you would do it is that you would select this and you would hyperlink it, just like if you would hyperlink a video or any other kind of website onto that object. When I click on link, you also have the ability to not only paste the link, but it also has this drop down that you can link to slides in your presentation. So all that I would do is I would click to the slide. This is the slide that's following the yes option. So I would just have to make sure that I'm linking to slide 2. And that way, let me do this. That way, when students are reading this, and if they click on yes, it's going to take them to then the yes part of the story. Ms. Glossary, you have a question?
Yeah, I actually did this today in my presentation, but I used it as a table of contents. So we were talking about geography and location, and I linked, I added the hyperlink for each individual slide so that the students, instead of going through the whole presentation, could just directly go to whatever topic they were unsure of. It was really helpful. This is great.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's really great for things like linking on being able to do them presentations, like to get them to specific slides. That also happens on Google Docs. On Google Docs, when you have a table of contents, what you do is just bookmark it and it'll take you to that. But yeah, and so from there, it'll take them to specific points in the slide. And then these are just kind of more active things that you can do with it. But that's really the notion behind like that filing cabinet presentation that I had before with the tutorials. That's all just linking slides. You know, it's just a little bit more in-depth way of doing it, but it's all just with how do you link slides there. Let me escape out of this one for a second.
I have a question.
Yes.
So would that like be similar to making the tabs? So you could put tabs along the bottom or along the side, like little, you know, index tabs.
With the slide presentations that kind of have like those notebooks with tabs that you can click on the tabs. Yeah, it's the same concept.
Yes,
it's all linking. Yeah, it's all linking.
So how
slides.
do you put those tabs?
How do you put the tabs?
But how do you get those tabs there? Is it just, yeah.
Well, the tabs themselves, so that they're always there, is going to be part of like the master slide. You make that as part of the master, so it shows up in every slide. Okay. And then what you do is just that you just put in just the box to link it onto that tab. So that goes, that's a little bit more in depth, but that's just by putting that on the master slide itself so that it's there. So some other ways that you can use the linking is kind of like using it this way, you know, for students to kind of choose like what's the beginning sound, and they choose which one it is, and it'll take them to whether or not it's correct or not. If it's not, then it can kind of give them some more information. Maybe they'll have like a little remediation video that they can watch, whatever it might be. But that's just another way to make it active for students to be able to do it. And so when you're linking slides, you can link it to be able to create a whole lot of things like that.
So how would you do it in this case? Like if they put the H, then it's correct. And then if they put the other one, how would the slide know that it's wrong? How do you tell it?
Well, if your slide's going to know it's wrong because you're the one linking it. So if they put P, okay, you're taking them to, and go back over here. So if they click on P, I'm linking it to the slide that I want. And so it's going to take them to
okay.
that. And so I could have added, if I wanted to include a video here for them to watch or whatever it might have been, and then they could have gone back to it and then look at it. So yeah, so it's, you're the one linking it, so you're the one deciding, you know, you're controlling where everything is going. And so this kind of concept is the same thing if you wanted to create kind of like review games as well, where you can have like flashcards. Is that a question, or just make sure that we're unmuted? Side, did you have a question? Ms. Ketchum, you have a hand up?
No, it's Ms. Cordero who I think has a question, Ms. Zarini.
I do, but I was letting Ms. Cordero go first.
Oh, okay, Ms. Cordero, go ahead.
And then the go back button is just basically that slide going back to slide 2 or whatever.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of it. You have cut out the first part. Can you repeat it?
Yes. So the go back button is just another link linking you back to the original slide.
Exactly. Yeah. The go back is just linking me to that original slide back to the beginning. Mm-hmm.
My question was, you would want to force this into present mode when you're giving it, like assigning it in Google Classroom, correct? Because otherwise they would, like middle school kids would just be like, oh, I know the answer. They wouldn't actually use it.
So if you're having them kind of go through the steps like this, that they're participating in it, then yeah, you want to make sure that you are then adding it to Google Classroom instead as like the link in the directions box, not as like part of the assignment or materials, so that they'll see it in the present mode. If you do this and go one step further and actually have the students like work on it and actually create it themselves as you work with them, then you'll add it as actually the assignment, because it'll be them actually inputting the information and doing it themselves. You know, so that's the different levels. As you know, when they first get started, they're just actually participating in it, and then as they get older and move forward, they can actually start to create some of these things themselves. With some guidance, they can start putting these things together themselves, right? That's the hope, that as they grow, they're able to start to create these things.
Zarini, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So what is, in your expert opinion, what is the difference between what you just said in putting a present mode in the description box? Now we realize, of course, that if you do it in the link, it's not going to keep the present, but you can publish to web. So what would you recommend if we knew how to do both? Is one better than the other? Is there a pro? Is there a con?
Ms. Serene, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Mr. Hamner is in the waiting room. He needs to be let in. Sorry, Ms. Farah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. Oh, I didn't get a little notification. I don't see him in the waiting room. Whose waiting room is he in?
Hold on, let me find out. Hold on.
It's been very glitchy today.
It must have been the coffee that he had.
Yeah, because I didn't. Miss Cordero was just in the waiting room, and I just let her back in. But I don't have anyone else in the waiting room.
We're telling him now that he's in the wrong room. Maybe he's, I don't know. I'll let you know when he's back in there.
Okay, yeah, because I'll get the ding. I hear the ding, so I don't. Okay. But okay, no problem. Now he's in the waiting room. There we go. All right, now we're all in. So this idea of linking slides, you can also use it for kind of like online review games or quizzes, things like that, because you can create these kind of like flashcards and answers in the same way. Inserting audio.
That's how I think I checked. I think that's kind of like a Jeopardy that I have a template of Jeopardy. That's how they did it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you'll definitely find templates that are already made. You don't have to start from the beginning, but they do have like Jeopardy for like templates for Jeopardy and other types of like quizzes and game shows, and they all use it with the kind of this whole linking slides idea is really the basis of it.
Sereni, can you go back to real quick the cons of the publishing to web thing?
Oh, the publish. That's right. I'm sorry. So there's not really a huge difference between the two. The publish to web is just, it's out there. And I mean, there really isn't a big difference between the two. So you can publish to web or you can just do it in a present mode. That really comes down to your decision. Whether there's like any kind of, because you can publish to web and keep it that people have to sign in. So there are like restrictions now. Before it was published to web and it was open to everybody. So that's one of the reasons why we kept it restricted, especially if it had information about students and things like that. But now that's not really an issue. So you can publish it to the web and that'll be fine too.
Got it. Thank you.
Ms. Press.
I'm still a little unclear on how to force something to be shown in present mode. Can you share that one more time?
Okay, yeah, no problem. So let me get out of this one for a second. So for example, if I wanted to take like our presentation and I wanted people to open it and it automatically opens up like fully in present mode, I would then go to share first, just like I would anything else, and I would then get the link to whoever I want to do it, whether it's just for school or whether it's anybody with the link, and then I would copy this link. And then when I copy this link, I'm just going to paste it in here into the search bar. Where it says edit, I would change that. I like to use preview better than present because preview gets rid of that presentation bar. So I put preview on it. And then now this new link is what I would copy. And then in my classroom, when I would then assign it, instead of putting it in and adding it as part of the materials, I would actually paste it into the description.
I thought you deleted everything after the word edit. You actually just deleted just the word edit.
You just have to delete the word edit and just put preview. That's all you need to do. So I'll delete this after, but let me go ahead and post it so then you could see what it looks like. So then when I would post it, and then I would open this up, I just have the link there. When I open it up, it'll automatically open up in this present view. And then you'll see how on the bottom, instead of the floating presentation bar with the preview mode, it leaves it down here so it's not in the way either. And so that's why I like the preview mode better. But then that's what students would see instead.
Can you also, instead of changing it before you copy paste it, can you copy paste it and then where it's in the description box
you can change it there too? Yeah, that's fine.
Doesn't matter. Okay,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it would work either way. The important part is just to make sure the edit is
Zerini.
Yep.
Zerini, is there a way to do this without having to erase that word edit? Like, can I go to file long way? Just curious to understand what are the other choices. Like, view, now that you mentioned it, I only know about presentation and editing. So how do I know my other?
Oh, you're breaking up, Cordero. You can ask me the question later, because I see that you're in your car. I don't want you to focus on that. Okay, so that one was clear about the preview mode and how to put it.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So let me go back over here. And All right, so the next one would be inserting audio. And you can insert audio into your Google slide. The only thing that you'd have to do beforehand is that you do have to record your audio beforehand. So you can insert the actual audio file. So it's just that you do have to record the audio file before doing it. One way to do it is an online free way to do online recording is called Onlinevoicerecorder.com. And it's just really, you just have to click on the mic, record what the audio is, and then it'll automatically download onto your device. And then you're able to just upload that into your slides. And that's really like—
Melissa, is that an I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is that an extension?
No, it's not an extension. It's a separate site. It's called Onlinevoicerecorder.com. So it's a separate site that you would go to, and then it'll download the audio into your device. And then when you go to insert audio, then you just be able to select it. You do have to upload your audio files into your drive first, because Google Slides doesn't let you upload audio from your device. So once you've downloaded your audio, you have to upload it all into your Google Drive first. And then from there, you'll be able to select your audio files. And then it'll look like it'll have this little audio window when it's inserted, it'll be there. So the kids will see this little like audio thing that they could go ahead and click on. And so you could have it right there. And so if they want something read to them, it'll go ahead. It'll go ahead and they can listen to it. Screencastify also allows you to do audio. It's much easier to use this one, but I mean, this is just out there in case, because when you do Screencastify, you do have an option to download. If you ever notice your download options, let me open up my Screencastify really quick.
If you have an iPhone with the voice recorder there and the Drive app, I found that it's easy also to upload.
Yeah.
Right from the phone.
Yeah, you have your phones that you can do it. Mm-hmm.
Concepcion, can you repeat that? Because I couldn't hear you completely.
On the iPhone, if you have like the voice recorder, usually like a note recorder, I believe it is. It's the voice memos. So if you record those voice memos and you have the Drive app also on your phone, you'd be able to open the Drive app and upload directly from your phone. So that's one way you can get all your audio files onto Drive, and then you can work from your desktop with your audio files already there.
Yeah. Exactly.
With
yeah,
photos and video work the same too.
Yeah, most phones, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, most phones do have a way for you to record really quick audio snippets that you can definitely then use the Drive app to upload it. So definitely that's another option for you. What I was going to show you was just quickly on Screencastify, and this just so you know for other things if you ever use it, when you go into your recordings, and you go into download, you have the option of downloading your recording, and you can also export your audio only from your recording. And so it'll download then as an MP3. So that's you always have that option within Screencastify that you can always take something that you did, and if you just want the audio of it, you can export the audio as an MP3. It'll download to your device. But if you're on the computer, if you're online, definitely the Onlinevoicerecorder.com is super simple to use, super quick, that you can record all of your audios and then just upload them into your Drive and then insert them there. One other thing that I wanted to show you while we're talking about audio is that there's also a voice to text add-on within Google Slides that's really great, and it's called Slides Translator. And when you go to the add-ons, you'll go to get add-ons, and then you'll just look for Slides Translator, and it'll go ahead and do that. Even though I think yours already have it, because I think I pushed it out for the whole entire domain. So I believe everybody already has this add-on on their slides. If you're signed in with your school account, you should see this within your Google Slides. And so if you click on voice type sidebar, it's going to open up a little sidebar menu here. And then all you need to do is click on the mic. Let me allow my microphone. And when you click on the mic, it's already kind of recording what, it'll preview what you're saying. So when you click on the mic, it'll start to preview what you're saying, and it'll then show up on the text box.
Is that available across apps like Docs and stuff?
What was that?
Is that available across the apps, like on Google Docs as well, or just
this one is only one is only a slides one. This is only a slides add-on for the slides translator. Yeah, this one in particular is only for slides. So it'll show up there. So this is
name of the add-on
for students can have this add-on. If they click on the mic, they'll be able to kind of write things down without having to type if they can do a voice to text.
Serena, what was the name of the add-on once you click on add-ons from Slides?
Slides Translator.
Slides Translator. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And it does have also a translator option since it is called Slides Translator. These are both the voice to type ones. The translate the text box is actually great because if there's something in a text box, the student just has to select it and then select the language and translate, and it'll translate whatever's in that text box into that language. So that's great for our ELL learners that would want to translate that into a different language. This little add-on is pretty useful.
This will be great for assessments too for kinder if they already have things made in English.
Yeah, so all of these things, and that's why I wanted to use these because they're really versatile. You can use a lot of these tools in a lot of different ways for a lot of different grade levels depending on what you need to do. You can adapt it to that. Whoops, I'm gonna go back here. Hold on, get my meeting controls out of the way. One other thing that you can do with slides, and students can do with slides as well, especially as they get older, is stop motion animation. It's a really simple stop motion animation. And they can use it to be able to explain concepts or events using kind of the stop motion animation instead of just a regular presentation. Ms. Glosser, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say with the 8th graders last year with the voice, what is it, text to voice, a lot of times last year I would have them take notes and they would turn it on, you know, without me knowing, and they would record my whole lesson of me speaking and they took no notes at all. So I don't know if anybody else had that concern in 6th and 7th, but when we get back into the classroom, I mean, it's very versatile, but we have to be mindful that sometimes the kids know more than we do, because I wasn't aware they were doing that until I started walking around the room.
I mean, yeah, there's always going to be workarounds and things like that. I mean,
yeah, no, you just have to be mindful.
It's just what you have them do with it afterwards if they're using the information. Because, I mean,
yeah,
when they get into college and stuff, they're able to record their lectures, technically. So
yeah.
I mean,
no, I mean, it's a great tool, but you know, it was like our lazy friends that didn't want to take notes that, you know, would just record. But
so there's probably some great clips of me floating around out there.
Exactly my point.
Zarini, is there like all you gotta do is select the text box. You don't have to select the actual words, because I'm trying it out here and then it's giving me like a little sad face error. Like it doesn't want to translate my words.
Yeah, you just have to select the text box.
Yeah, I'm clicking on everything I have written and it won't work, which is weird. I don't know why. Yeah, I just keep seeing the little sad face.
I don't know. I was using it the other day, so
maybe it's because of Google, the issue with Drive today. Maybe
I don't know, possibly. So the stop motion animation, and if like you've done things with like virtual classrooms, you might have started to do these a little bit. is just kind of making just a really easy way of animation. This does take time though, so this is definitely something for students who enjoy kind of like details, or this is something that it's something quick. It's not going to be something long for them to have to do, because it is something that'll take time. You have your image, like for example, I have my image here, and so you duplicate that slide, and then what I would do is then like move my image over a little bit so that eventually it looks like it's moving. And so that's what the stop motion animation does. Little by little, every time you duplicate the image, you're going to move it a little bit more to what you want it to do. And so for students, they can have movement if they're explaining a concept or something happening or trying to do some kind of diagram. Maybe they were explaining what happened in an event, like some kind of like battle, and showing like where people were located. It could be a lot of different things that you can use, but this is one way that students can kind of have another way of be able to show their work and their thinking with the stop motion animation. So once it's done, right, and I would stop motion, let me go back to the beginning. So if I were to present this, and then I would move through it quickly, it would then be able to show the whole entire thing because it looks like it's stop motion. One way that students could do it would be, an easy way would be to use Screencastify to just record their screen and just move along the slides quickly, and then they record that video and it's giving you that clip of that animation. Or they can publish the presentation to the web, and when you publish it to the web, you can set it to automatically play as well. The only thing when you publish it to the web though is that it doesn't go faster than like 1 second a frame. And so for some things it's okay, but sometimes for some things it's slow. So one website that I like to use for kind of creating any kind of animation and even creating my own GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, is Tall Tweets. And let me... So it's talltweets.com. You can sign in with your Google account. And then it'll automatically let you select whatever your presentation is. And let that load if it wants to right now.
Melissa, is this still under inserting audio? Sorry, you got lost.
No, this is the stop motion animation. This is another idea. Yeah. So when you, if this decides to load quickly or not, but when you do that, you can select the presentation and it'll automatically give you an option when you select the presentation to set how fast you want each slide to move, and then you'll be able to download it as a GIF. And so that way the animation is done. This is taking forever. This is probably into that Google Drive issue that we're having all day today. So that's another option for you to be able to use is Tall Tweets.
Miss Serini?
Yeah.
So I heard that there's another way that you can select add-on, Creator Studio, and I feel like it's the same concept where you do a Bitmoji. With that, is it the same principle?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Yep, same principle. There's also an add-on that actually lets you do GIFs as well, Slide GIF, which I downloaded, but I actually haven't used it yet, so I don't really know how it works. But I know there is an add-on for that as well. But I have not used that one yet. And then, since we're all on Zoom now lately, also there is the breakout rooms. When you can create slide presentations where then, and we did this when we had like our all staff meeting with Mr. Chakala, that we had those like slides that we all worked on in our own groups. You can create slide presentations that you want students to use in the breakout room. And so each slide in your presentation, you would just share out that one presentation as an edit mode. Each group, right, would have their own slide. That's the one that they're working on. and then they would go ahead and complete whatever it is that they need to do. On your screen, when you have your slides, you'll notice that you have an option to see your slides in grid mode, which is down here at the bottom. And if I click on grid mode, then I'll be able to see all of my slides. So then like this, I can actually see all of my students working on their slides in the breakout room. So even though I'll be visiting each room, I can also keep an eye on what my slides are and see what's going on in the other rooms through the slides to see as their work is getting done. So this is
how
just,
do you actually,
yes.
How do you actually do that where they're each have a different slide?
You would just, I mean, it's just one presentation. So you would share this out as in everybody can edit. And then the slide is then just titled with whatever breakout room number they're in.
Gotcha.
And so that's what they would work on. Mm-hmm.
So you're not actually putting it in the Zoom. That's stupid. It's given out like Google Classroom and they access it.
Yeah, you can post it in Google Classroom and they can access it. I mean, you could post the link in the Zoom chat if you want to, but you could have it there on Google Classroom so that it's also there too, so they can refer back to it later if they need to. It's already in Classroom as well. But you can also quickly just put the link into the chat. That way it'll open up and then they'll be able to work on it while they're in their breakout rooms.
And you're trusting them to stay on the correct slide and not
well,
go on
that's
slides
kind of the conversations you have to have along the way as you work, as with anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Besides, you know who will move out into one slide or another, so it's not like you're not going to know what's going to happen, because that's why you have the version history. So if anything does happen, you'll know exactly who did it. So that's like, you have each group, they work on their slide, you have your expectations posted naturally as what they want them to do. And so that's just another way to help you kind of monitor breakout rooms as you're moving from group to group and meeting with each. If you do, when you're doing that, you can then have them working on those slides. So that kind of basically is what I have today, kind of just some ideas and different tools that you can use to kind of take slides beyond just your regular presentation. So this presentation is in our classroom, and then here I have all of the different resources that I talked about. This time you'll be able to go in kind of on your own time to look at things. These ditch textbooks have like a lot of different ideas for slides beyond just what I mentioned. These were just a few, but here you have like 30 different ideas on what you can do with slides. There's an ultimate Google slide kind of handbook that has just loads and loads of ideas, of templates, of things that you could do. So this is all there for you to be able to look on your own time and kind of just from there, take some ideas. I have the Slides Mania website, which is what I use a lot to get of my slides templates to use from. I like to use her site a lot, and just everything that we've talked about there. So this will give you some time, and then on Thursday when we come together, we'll get into our breakout rooms, and it's really just you being able to then take some time to be able to work on any of these things that you think you might find helpful, to start working on it and kind of developing a lesson. If you want to develop, this might be what you want to use, or something that you want to try out in your class, that'll be the perfect time for you to start working on that and kind of getting it together and sharing your ideas with others and having other people try it out to see what they think. And so that's what we'll do on Thursday. Any other final questions, Ms. DeVita? Sorry, my phone. Oh, I can't hear you, Ms. DeVita. You don't have any audio.
Ms. Serini, can I ask you something kind of unrelated to this real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me? When
Yes,
we are scheduling, okay, when we're scheduling something, a meeting in the calendar, and it has the link to the Zoom, you know, like it says, make it a Zoom meeting. Is it all right to click on that, or does that not sign me up through our single sign-on?
Are you scheduling the meeting there?
Yeah.
Okay, it will do it through your single sign-on. However, all of the settings that you might want to have on may not be on. So I suggest to schedule your meeting with the regular website, and then from when you schedule it, just add it to the calendar from there.
Okay.
So, for example.
But I don't meet with students. I only meet with teachers, so I don't have that many, you know, settings that I need to worry about.
Right.
But
I mean,
I'll
you
try
can schedule it from there. But like, if I would schedule a meeting, because that's, I mean, I mostly meet with teachers myself, but I just go ahead and schedule everything here, and then when I do, and I save it, I'll have the option to be able to just add it to my calendar, right? And so I'll just add it to my Google Calendar automatically. And then it saves to my calendar, and then I could then send, from my calendar, I can send the meeting invite to whoever the attendees are.
Gotcha.
But it'll, as long as you're logged into your Google account, the Zoom link that'll show up there is going to be the same one from ours, so it's fine.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Mr. Vita.
So going back to that last thing with the breakout rooms and the slides.
Yes.
Let's say that I'm going to be going in into a regular teacher's classroom, and I want to pull out a student into a breakout room to do some kind of assessment. I would love to use a slide presentation, but can I do that in my breakout room while the teacher is doing her own slide presentation with the rest of the class?
If you are in the breakout room, the same breakout room with the teacher, you should still be able to put it into the, you could put the link into the chat.
Well, no, she'll be in the main classroom with her students, and I would like to pull out one student at a time and, let's say, assess letters with a slide.
Right.
Is that doable?
Yeah, you can share your screen and be able to do that.
In my breakout room, and it won't interfere with whatever she's doing with the rest of the class.
Yes.
Okay, super. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Ms. Kyoto, did you have a question, or is your hand up from before? Okay, just making sure.
Sorry, I forgot to lower.
Final questions.
I have a question about the polls that you did earlier. Once you create the poll, how do you find it in order to push it out to your students?
So when you have your meeting controls, you have your control that says polls. You just click on the polls button and you'll be able to select the poll that you created.
I didn't see that.
You make sure that in your settings that you've got your polls turned on.
Is there a secret way to copy paste the same poll for all 4 classes, or do you have to do one for each one because it's a separate Zoom meeting?
If it's a separate Zoom link, then yeah. If it's the same Zoom link, then you could. But if it's a separate Zoom link, then it's, yeah, they can't, there's no way of being able to just share the same poll throughout each one.
And with the new update for Zoom that you were talking about in your email, is there a way that we know, like, how do we move the squares to how we want it? Is there like a specific thing?
You should just be able to drag them to where you want them.
As a host only, of course.
It has the option that you can allow it for other people to do it as well.
Gotcha.
So apparently with your permission, I haven't tried it yet since it just came out, but apparently with the permission of the host, then you are able, everybody can move the squares how they want them, or you can push it out how you want them. So like if I have a specific order and I want everybody to look at it in that specific order, then I can make it so that nobody can move it just the way that I want it.
I love that because when you're presenting a project, it's like 6 people presenting. You can only do one person speaker view at a time, but now you can have all 6 of them be like the people, what people see.
You can pin, you can pin them multiple people, and then you can arrange it however you want. But apparently I can't move boxes while people have their hands raised. So now we know that you can't move the box if people have their hands raised.
And would you have to rearrange them each meeting if the same people come into your meeting? Do you know if it would kind of like default to that, how you arrange
I would imagine you would have to, I would imagine you would have to move it each meeting would be different.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't worked with it, but I don't think it would save, like that's going to save that order.
That's so cool. You can move it. You can move all the distracting kids to the second page. Like it.
Okay.
And that's good
so,
too. You can go in order. Like, okay, this is the order you're going in. You're gonna answer in this order.
All right. So basically, that is it for us for today. So we'll meet again here on Thursday to be able to work with these things. Now you just have time to go back and kind of just work on this. If you definitely have any other questions, please feel free to reach out and send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer any other questions. But have a great evening.